Mom was baffled when she saw her husband did this to their children while she's away. Having had to witness her husband's secret footage with him and their 2 children, her mouth had been completely open. As she watches the unimaginable man she married, she can sense her heartbeat in her throat. However, that must have been a joke though. Her childhood sweetheart was his husband. She was her soulmate. She couldn't have envisioned that he could ever do such a thing. There was no going back truly, and she got to understand that. For Stella Jackson, her family was everything. She married her childhood sweetheart Josh 10 years ago when their 2 beloved kids came along. Ben was 18 months old and Emma was 5 years of age. Yes, Stella assumed in her perfect life nothing could ever go wrong. However, when she used a nanny cam to secretly film her husband and children, she uncovered something truly astonishing. It hasn't always been easy for both Stella and Josh to become parents. They'd been trying to conceive for 5 years and it seemed as though having a family wasn't on the cards. However, their efforts subsequently appeared to pay off. They hugged their daughter Emma and son Ben in 2015 and 2019 respectively. Finally, their family felt complete, but they really seemed to have no idea what was coming. For Stella, it was hard to handle a full-time job and still be a mother. At points in time, this often felt like she was some Wonder Woman powering her way through every barrier. So she and Josh agreed that she would go to work for the first 5 years and he'd be a stay-at-home dad. He didn't seem to mind the setup, but Stella soon discovered something about her stay-at-home husband. Stella had come to notice that Josh was beginning to act a little differently. He seems very disengaged almost the whole time she's seeing him, something lingering in his mind. He'd never fully confess his personal thoughts, however. She had little idea what she would discover about her beloved husband as she installed a secret camera. Normally, Josh was a dedicated father, but this just seems lately that he had other things on his mind. Stella was trying to get him to talk about this, but he still didn't want to. Then one evening, Stella woke up and found her bed empty. Where was Josh? She rubbed her weary eyes and began shouting for him, but there was no reaction. She stared through the crack of the door and what she saw left her at loss for words in the hallway. Josh decided to leave Emma's room with her eldest daughter. What did he do? Stella began looking at her clock. It was around 3:45 a.m. Did Emma possibly have another nightmare? As Josh did his dad duty, Stella brushed it off, but she was so completely mistaken. With her 2 children, Stella started to miss having to spend bonding time, becoming more concerned about work. She assembled a nanny cam to make sure she barely missed anything at all. It was a good tactic that was completely effective. She'd see her cherished children while she was able to do work, but she set it up when she watched the morning video and she just couldn't believe her eyes. It's the greatest way of monitoring the scenario for many other moms and dads. Simply press the record button and immediately watch the clip on your phone using an app. She was left reeling when Stella gazed on her husband and children's secretly taped video. Prior to going out to work, Stella arranged the nanny cam. She didn't really tell her husband this and she felt like she didn't have to. At lunch, she decided to open the nanny cam at work looking at the previous morning video. She was unaware of what was coming. When she decided to eat her lunch while watching the nanny cam footage searching for some sense of security, Stella assumed she would find some decent situations to send her kids to her family. She hadn't really anticipated, however, to obtain something entirely different. In her 2 children's living room, the video began with clips. As she sees her beloved children dance to a TV song, Stella cracks a smile. Josh looked like he was doing laundry in the background but unexpectedly showed up in frame. What he did next changed everything. Within minutes, her husband's true colors were uncovered. He keeps blowing raspberries on her belly, leading in a good laugh that would crack the smile of anyone. Then Josh did something abruptly, and that there was no coming back once Stella had seen it. She had to show everyone. Stella's in her tracks, frozen. That must have been a joke, right? She watches her husband from a secret camera and she can't believe her eyes. Why would he do this? She knows she's going to need to show other people. He thought no one was watching him, but he'd never get away that easily. Stella's 2 children could be seen goofing around in the video. The baby tries to jump to the rhythm with its bouncer, and in addition on TV, a lyrical video by Katy Perry was released, and the number E.T. from 2011's loudly blasting. With the music turned up to max volume while trying to wave a couple of colorful pom-poms around to the music, the older child continues to stand in front of the TV while her baby sibling jumps up and down in her stroller. The kids are having fun, but unbeknownst to them, Dad's also about to step in. In the background, Stella's husband walking carrying a box can be seen. He places the box on the table and enters the living room, having noticed the kids in the living room dancing. Instead of proceeding with his household tasks, Stella's surprised to see him literally walk into the picture and do something surprising. He leans down on his daughter first and moves his hands up and down with a jerking move. Yeah, he's doing quite a robot dance in the room to the joy of both his kids. As their dad nears them, they can be heard laughing uncontrollably. Then he even begins lip-syncing along with a song mimicking, "Boy, you're an alien, your touch so foreign." It finishes with a pirouette just after the robot dance finishes. And even after being really enormous, this awesome father still can pull off some remarkably graceful dancing skills. Whereas most of the father's moves are traditional dad dance moves, it just tends to make the whole clip even more amusing for those who haven't seen it. However, the dad doesn't just start dancing with his older daughter. He sidles up to the kid with a baby bouncing, starts to lean in and dance at the same time. The baby likes the show as well. The baby chuckles with joy as her father makes funny faces dancing along to the music. At one moment, the oldest daughter hands her father the red pom-poms. He takes one and wiggles it around, but the girl keeps insisting he must dance for everyone. He reveals his foolish steps in the dance, seeking to make his kids scream with laughter. He takes the other pom-pom and ends up going through an amazing and sassy cheerleader routine. Then the daughter takes back one of the pom-poms, with the duo proceeding to jiggle them around, having to carry one each. The song continues and so does Dad. Dad continues to shake and twirl the pom-pom, trying to make pretty funny movements as Katy Perry's song lowers the beat and starts to hit a crescendo. As the song gets closer to the end, the father drops a pom-pom. The epic mic drop has become one of the greatest movements we've seen from the film. He then stops and confidently leaves the living room and goes back to his household tasks, unaware that his choreographed dance has been indeed captured by tape. The viral footage shows that while hidden cameras have been used to spy on people or more for sinister purpose, it's also possible to catch some wholesome scenes. And evidently, many of those remarks reflected an outpouring of love and affection for a good father. The heartwarming video also seems unlikely, honestly, to never like it. The Best Dad of the Year award goes to whoever he is, said by YouTube user Susanna Danielle. Gabriel Klopp agreed that this man is a dad who loves his children. One point is that these young children have an incredible dad who likes to make them laugh and is humble. While Stella initially installed a hidden camera in her living room, she only wanted to be able to keep an eye on things and maybe get some awesome videos of her kids. Instead, she ended up getting someone even better. Her husband showed himself what a dedicated dad he was. Indeed, this is a video she'll remember for a long time. However, the full dance show between him and his kids isn't actually between him and his kids, thanks to Stella's secret camera. Not that there's something in the clip to be embarrassed of. She was at first horrified when Stella saw the video. A smirk then stretched over his face. She knew she had to share her husband's antics with the world. Mom finds out how dad watches the kids was the video that went viral on YouTube. Other viewers made comments that such a description was disappointing because they expected something entirely different from what the video contained. Am I the only one who thought this was going to be bad? Jace Bailiff asked. Vidi Kadi wrote, "From the title, I thought this guy was a child abuser. Boy, was I wrong." Stella posted the video on Facebook and it received a lot of attention. He has the dance moves of a goat having a seizure, but the kids like it. Since the video was posted in September 2015, it has earned 28,000 likes and over 2 million views and received over 5,000 comments. But this isn't the first time something like this happened. Stella's husband's unabashed dancing with his children isn't the first time that something like this has been recorded on camera. A clip titled "Hidden Camera Captures Dad and Daughter Dancing to Can't Stop the Feeling" by Justin Timberlake was posted by Lisa Roth on YouTube in May 2016. And once again, it showed a dedicated father doing everything he could to keep his daughter happy. But some decidedly terrifying moments were captured on hidden cameras too. Joe, emotionally tormented, is frozen in his tracks. He looked at the video he secretly taped last night and his heart is pounding. It was just like witnessing his favorite horror movie, except it wasn't a slasher from Hollywood. It was his life. For days he'd been waiting for this moment, finally finding out the truth about his missing meals and finally having evidence. Yet something had left a sick feeling in his stomach. He understood he had to run for it, that he had to go fast, but time was running out. Joe Cummings spent 2 years living in Manhattan. It wasn't easy being an actor by day and a waiter by night in a city that never sleeps, but there was no other place Joe would choose to live in the midst of overcrowding, living expenses, and less than friendly individuals. All his life he's been dreaming about the Big Apple, and now he's there. For Joe, things may not have been good career-wise, but the aspiring actor had a beautiful apartment, a great girlfriend, and great friends. He lived a dream. Yet Joe's world turned upside down one day. Joe was well acquainted with the fact that New York was an expensive city to live in. Joe was trying his best to save money, but he could rent a tiny studio apartment for $5 coffee to $1,000. Then, when he began to have to shop more frequently, he became worried because the food in his fridge and pantry was quickly disappearing. In his routine, there was no changes, so he had no excuse to eat more than usual. But there was another individual living with him who might have known the answer. Lucy, Joe's girlfriend, moved to his apartment recently. On cloud 9, they were two lovebirds, and this was a new beginning in their lives. But Joe was beginning to gnaw at his problem with the missing food. Why was his girlfriend going to get his food? Why wasn't she just asking? Joe realized he had to remind Lucy of the food that was missing. He hoped she wouldn't be offended, but he needed answers. After all, he wasted his hard-earned salary purchasing more food, not to mention saving for Lucy's commitment ring. When Joe and Lucy were sleeping one night, Joe heard strange noises coming from the kitchen, a thump on the floor, a creaking lock, and steps. His heart started beating. Who was in the house? Joe was unable to say in his sleep whether it was real or if it was a dream. He knew he had to act quickly the next morning, though, when some of the food that had been there the night before was gone. When the facts came to light, though, Joe's whole world turned upside down. The following morning, Joe poured a glass of orange juice and confronted his girlfriend about the food that's been missing. To his surprise, she denied everything. Joe didn't want to call his girlfriend a liar, but realized something strange was happening. Maybe she was a sleepwalker without knowing it. Heck, maybe he was. Nevertheless, the only way to know for sure was to get proof, but what Joe would soon find would leave him feeling sick to the stomach. Soon after, an idea came to Joe. Perhaps an animal was coming in and eating it, but that seemed improbable. As his neighborhood wasn't necessarily the safest in New York, he still locked all the doors and windows at night. Not to mention that the food in the refrigerator was gone, and he knew that no creature could open refrigerator doors. Something or someone else must have been it. It was time to act. Joe had enough of speculation. Joe was unaware, however, of what it really was. Joe came to town with determination and purchased a surveillance camera with night vision. He constructed it near the corner roof of the kitchen, ensuring the corner had an unobstructed view of the refrigerator and pantry. He realized he wouldn't warn his girlfriend because maybe he could catch her in the act if it were her. Pressing record, he started his day. However, when he removed the memory card the next morning and prepared to finally discover the truth, he wasn't mentally prepared, as it turns out. The video most typically starts. It is late at night and Joe and his girlfriend are getting ready to go to bed. They laugh and fight a bit before turning all of the lights off and leaving the kitchen. No activity takes place for the next 2 hours except for lights coming in from the street. Then something begins to stir, and nothing could have prepared Joe for what he was about to see. Joe's speechless. It's gotta be a joke, right? A prank his friends pulled. It had to be a prank. He's once again watching the video, and with each look he feels sick. It wasn't what he'd expected to see. How was that possible? There was no going back. The woman that Joe thought might have been his girlfriend was leaving a hiding place, crawling and stabilizing on a table. Then she reaches out and grabs a nearby step she uses to jump to the ground. When he watched this lady, he had a feeling she'd done this before. His mind was full of questions as he tried to comprehend why his girlfriend would go through all this trouble. Then she looks at the camera and Joe sees her face plain as day. It wasn't his girlfriend. The woman had been nothing but a random person. Joe's stomach felt sick, so he knew he had to watch. Joe's watching the woman as relaxed as if she were in her own home go around the kitchen. She opens the fridge door, snatches a bottle of orange juice and drinks it straight from the fridge. She then walks and urinates into the sink. Joe watches the nightmare unfold. When she hears a noise from the bedroom, the lady can be snuggled on Joe's sofa, munching away at one point. Surprised, she enters Joe's kitchen and hides in it. Then Joe shows up and goes into the refrigerator for a glass of water. A few minutes after he leaves, the woman returns and continues snacking. What's been going on? It takes hours, but Joe can't keep the video away from his eyes. Who was this woman? Joe watches as the morning light starts to sneak into his flat and the lady crawls back into the storage room. He sees himself entering the kitchen soon after, dressed in everyday clothes. He opens the refrigerator just like the woman a few hours ago and drinks the juice right out of the box. Till the end, Joe ends up watching the video when he's stuck in his tracks, trying to figure out what he just saw. An invisible intruder could potentially still be hiding just a few feet away from him. Joe felt a mix of terror and relief. After all, the video showed that he wasn't mad. Others had stolen his food. But it wasn't his girlfriend as he thought from the start. This was an even worse thing. There was a mysterious woman hiding in the kitchen storage area in their apartment, just a few steps away from the bedroom. He had to get out quick. Joe picked up his computer and got out of the apartment in a hurry. He rushed to the police station in order to explain what was going on and showed them the video. I don't know how she got there. The only way to get in is through the window because I'm on the top floor and there's an escape route. What they did learn, however, just petrified him more. After capturing and interrogating the lady, the police found that she'd been actually hiding in Joe's apartment for over 2 weeks. He decided to post his frightening video on YouTube where, after the ordeal ended, he quickly went viral. And while the validity of Joe's story is questioned by many, regularly searching your storage space isn't a bad idea. You never know what could be hidden there, as Tracy of South Carolina was about to find out. It was like an authentic horror movie. Part of her always wondered if she had lucid nightmare. There was no other way for her to explain what was occurring. They're not fiction, however, for who knows how long he was there at home without a clue. And as the ramifications of this fact began to evolve for her, she couldn't help but panic. Even prior to this incident, life hadn't been easy for Tracy. She was a single mother of 5 and lived in Rock Hill, South Carolina. During her life, she struggled to make ends meet and provide for her family. Some of her kids had grown up now, but all of them still lived together to lower the cost of a family home. Despite their circumstances, they lived a happy life, but then something started happening that threatened all that. One day in September, Tracy started hearing odd noises coming from the attic. She thought maybe it was an intruder, but she was always wary of locking all the windows and doors. She did this as a precaution because they lived in a poor part of the city and burglaries were fairly prevalent. She saw no sign of forced entry whatsoever and thought it was all her imagination, but she soon began wondering if anything else was going on.